My sister-in-law forbids me from attending her party at my own house because my appearance would ruin the vibe, but making an enemy of Germany in World War II was less dangerous. I'm furious right now, so forgive me if this rant is poorly written, has spelling mistakes, or resembles my sister-in-law's ugly face. For context, I'm 36 years old and have been married to my husband, Victor, who is 37, for 10 years. Everything in my marriage is going well, except for my evil sister-in-law, Bri, who is 31. That's what she calls herself, and she's completely insane, the full package. Loud, obnoxious, narcissistic, and possessing every characteristic listed in a psychologist's manual that says if you meet someone like this, you should run or throw them off a cliff. I'm not saying this just because we don't get along or because she wouldn't lend me her makeup once. She's a monster. Part of why Bri is like this is because she's always lived a comfortable life. The other part is probably due to some demonic possession. No, she doesn't earn much. Actually, she doesn't earn anything. She's always been dating some rich loser who can sustain her extravagant lifestyle. Forgive my vocabulary when talking about her partners, but you have to be a real loser to date Bri. However, this witch, instead of enjoying her life in peace, constantly drags everyone into her circus, finding ways to rub it in our faces with the elegance of a pig at a gala. At family gatherings, in the middle of anything, she'd pull out her latest iPhone and say, "I can't breathe without the newest one." Then she'd show photos of an apartment to whoever was nearby, saying, "Look at this, I'm going to rent it next month because the old one feels too stifling." Before anyone could respond, she'd add, "I think it's a bit expensive, but who cares? My rich boyfriend can pay for it." Every time she made those comments, I could hear a vein bursting in someone's head. She also looked directly at me or spoke loudly enough for me to hear, oddly feeling like it was a jab at me for settling for less. I wonder if she realizes my husband is her brother. I thank the heavens when she moved out of state. Family gatherings were much more peaceful, but now she's back in town, and this time she's worse, even more unbearable if you can believe it. Apparently her new boyfriend is little less than a prince with piles of inherited wealth and just as obsessed with appearances as she is. It's like they cloned her, adding a new limb to make the clone male because it's impossible to find another person like her. However, unlike her, who flaunts everything, Adrian is more laid back. The guy simply enjoys life, though that attitude irritates me. I never felt jealous. It's like he knows he has a lot of money and doesn't worry about anything, but at least he's busy enjoying it instead of rubbing it in someone's face. Victor and I believe a good life goes beyond money. It's about being happy, having loved ones close, and most importantly, health. I work as a customer service agent for a popular holistic products company, while Victor has a small business that's growing slowly but steadily, providing us with a good roof over our heads, which I'm grateful for. We may be better or worse off than others, but at least we don't throw it in anyone's face. A few weeks ago, she posted a photo on Facebook of her left hand with a ring, resting on her boyfriend's perfectly manicured hand. She tagged me and 30 other people with the caption, "I didn't expect it, but I said yes. A sneak peek of my 20-carat diamond ring. That's a luxury not everyone can afford." I knew immediately it was a dig at us, but I just kept scrolling, not giving her the satisfaction of my attention. The next day, she made another post announcing to the world that she was having a big engagement party in 2 weeks, tagging most of her friends and family with the caption, "My love is throwing me a big party to ask me to be his wife. If you're seeing this, you're invited. Just kidding, you need an invitation first, haha." I just sighed and moved on. God knows why she needs to make such a fuss about everything. I really didn't expect to be invited. Apparently, I was wrong. Bri called our landline 2 days later. "Yes, we still have one. If you think that's old-fashioned, you can find a lawyer and sue me," asking if I hadn't seen her posts. I told her I'd been busy, and she sighed, "Yeah, busy trying to make ends meet. I can't relate to that feeling, sorry." Then she let out an evil laugh. I scoffed and ignored her. Then she asked me to be part of her bridal party for the event. I was shocked she wanted me in her entourage. I wasn't thrilled by her gesture, more confused and suspicious of her intentions. She also invited me to a dress fitting and said, "Don't worry about the money, my boyfriend will pay for it." As she spoke, I felt my blood boiling, so it was all about rubbing her lifestyle in my face. I didn't even want to be part of it. I hung up saying, "If your fiancé has so much money, he should buy you a new face." 2 days later, she showed up at my door unannounced, as always, overly dolled up. As soon as I opened the door, she started complaining, "You don't even have a parking lot or a canopy outside, and like me, my car isn't used to the sun." I replied, "Is your car a witch too?" I asked her the reason for her sudden visit, and she said she came to see her brother. I called Victor and went back to the kitchen. Victor came out and she hugged him like they hadn't seen each other in years, acting all sweet with him, a completely different version of her usual self. Victor knows her well and asked why she came. She laughed, but before getting to the point, she started talking about how her boyfriend was paying for everything and her own family wasn't doing anything. She even said loudly, "My family doesn't even measure up." Victor asked, "What does that mean?" She shrugged and pulled out a paper from her purse with a list of things still needing to be covered. She started reading it aloud slowly until she stopped at the venue and said, "Yeah, you guys can help with the venue." I could hear them from the kitchen, and when she said that, I perked up. Victor stayed silent, so she continued, "I was thinking if you could lend me your new house for my engagement." Context: Victor and I bought a house a year ago. We'd had our eye on that property for years and saved up since we got married. We were waiting for his business to take off, and last year he landed a big client that boosted revenue. The first thing he did with the profits was secure our dream house. It's a beautiful property with a large garden and parking. We're renovating the interiors to our taste and plan to move in next month. Victor called me and she responded, "What, you can't make a decision on your own?" He told her the house belongs to both of us and I have an equal say in whether we lend it out before we move in. She said, "That's the point, you don't live there yet, so I can decorate it my way. And by the way, it's not a rental, obviously you can't charge your sister." I was there, listening to her nonsense. Victor looked at me, God knows what he expected from me, while this witch said, "So, when can I use the house?" She wasn't even asking if we'd lend it. I replied subtly, "Didn't your rich boyfriend rent a villa? I thought he was rich enough to get you a place. Guess he doesn't have that much money. What a shame." I was about to add, "Guess daddy's money ran out, tell him to go ask for more," but I held back. My response stung her so much that she called my father-in-law, saying we wouldn't lend her the house, so it was now his responsibility to find her a venue. I think he refused and she threw a fit, saying that as the bride's father, it was his duty to cover the venue, at least half the cost. She told him, "I'm not asking for anything, but you can talk to your son and daughter-in-law." She said all this with a look of contempt. Seconds later, my father-in-law called me. I rejected the call and texted him that we wouldn't lend the house for the event. I didn't want him begging me. I was raised with values, so that's that. She left with a victim's face, asking me to go to the dress fitting, thinking Victor, not me, would decide. At first, I thought about rejecting the invitation outright, but she doesn't even deserve that courtesy. So I decided to do the opposite, stand her up. Yesterday was my father-in-law's 60th birthday, and my mother-in-law threw a big party. Victor was out of town for work meetings, so I went alone. Everything was going great until it got late, and my in-laws were waiting for bride to arrive to cut the cake. After making everyone wait almost 2 hours, she showed up in a flashy new car, wearing a sparkly silver dress that stole all the attention from the real star of the night, my father-in-law. She made sure everyone noticed her dress and her new car. Even if no one asked, she wore them out talking about her rich boyfriend, her 20-carat diamond ring, and the car's value. I ignored the commotion and enjoyed the night with the others. I was about to finish my last drink when she approached me, made a face, and flopped lazily onto a couch, saying, "For a woman who hasn't been able to conceive in decades, you look like the mother of two." I was stunned by such a comment. "How dare you," I said. She didn't flinch and continued, "You know, I wanted you in my bridal party, but I think I changed my mind. You'd better stay out, you'll ruin the aura of my party. Actually, you'll ruin the whole vibe." I exploded not because she kicked me out of something I didn't want to be part of in the first place, but because how dare she comment on my body. I was about to slap her and wipe that smile off her hippo face, but I held back and told her I had no interest in being part of that trashy spectacle. I corrected myself. Hippos are beautiful compared to her. Hippo's butt face with hemorrhoids is more like it. Some family members were watching us, and Bri suddenly softened her tone, saying, "It's nothing against you. Okay, it's just that I'm trying to create an image with all this, and you're a bit too fat to fit in." I left without saying anything else to avoid causing drama and ruining someone else's special day. I heard her say, "Come on, look at yourself. Even the dress you're wearing now doesn't fit you. Who says a bridesmaid dress will? That bloated face doesn't match the grand image I'm building." I wish I'd punched her Botox-filled face and beaten her to a pulp. I called Victor as I left and told him what happened. He called her immediately to warn her. I've never seen Victor so angry. He told her he'd cut all ties with her if she ever crossed me again. He also called his parents to inform them. My father-in-law called me and asked me to come back, saying he'd make her apologize. I told him I wasn't in the mood for apologies, but if they'd hung her from the ceiling fan with a rope, I was in the mood for a piñata. That shameless woman had the audacity to insult and humiliate me about my body when she's the one sleeping with guys for money. What can you say about her body then? What endears me most is that she asked to hold her engagement at our new house. What's even more infuriating is how fake she is. She asks you for something and then treats you like you're nothing days later. She doesn't even have the tact to treat you well long enough to get what she wants. She doesn't have that intelligence or the ability to work hard enough to achieve it. Update 1. Oh, I'm overwhelmed by everyone's response. I didn't expect this to get so much attention or for you all to enjoy what I wrote so much. Sure, I added a bit of humor, but 110% of what I wrote is what I truly think. I even toned it down so Reddit wouldn't kick me out. It was also a kind of emotional release. You don't call a woman fat and expect her not to hate you for life. After venting here, I still had a lot pent up, so I went to my best friend's house and let it all out. She had some friends over, but she let me in anyway, and I started ranting about everything, insulting Bry's toilet water-filled face, her duck lips, fake eyelashes, fake eyebrows, and broom-like hair from all the dye. Every woman will understand that if you can't insult someone to their face at that moment because of logistics, since I'd already done it, you pull up their photos and tear them apart with your best friends. That's what I was doing. You won't believe what happened next. My friend's friend, let's call her Mona, who works at a hotel, took my phone, zoomed in on one of the photos and said, "Hey, she's a regular client at our hotel. She always comes with some lawyer guy." Something didn't add up, lawyer. It was clear Bry's fiancé wasn't a lawyer. That seemed like a different kind of job. I showed her a photo of Bry's fiancé and asked if she came with him. She said, "No, it's another guy." I asked, "Do they seem like friends?" She replied, "They're the kind of friends who look like they're about to rip each other's clothes off in the lobby, and we'd have to use the fire hose to spray them down." I'd been drinking all afternoon, but when she said that, I snapped out of it. The gossip was the strength of 100 coffees in one dose, and I was thrilled, very thrilled. I didn't know what I'd do with that information, but I felt energized, like I'd solved a 12,823-piece puzzle with all identical pieces. So this witch was cheating on her rich, clueless boyfriend. I asked Mona to get more details about the guy, just his name would do, and I practically begged her to try to get a photo or video of them. At first, she hesitated because the hotel caters to wealthy clients, and if her manager found out, she could lose her job. I promised her name wouldn't come up, but I'd be grateful for the rest of eternity and beyond. That night, I went home and slept like a fed, swaddled baby with a big dose of bear tranquilizer. I don't know why, but I didn't even have high hopes she'd get the photos since the engagement party was in 3 days, and what were the odds of Bry showing up with that guy when Mona was working? I miscalculated because she's a cheater and a very lustful one at that. One thing was clear, Bry wasn't having her engagement at my house. She could do whatever she wanted elsewhere, but not in my house. I didn't tell Victor my decision, and he agreed. He asked me to tell her, but I refused. He called his parents anyway to tell them I didn't want to lend the house. My father-in-law put Bry on the call and demanded she apologize immediately. Victor, my father-in-law, and Bry were on the call, and she had the nerve to say I was too maternal, and my appearance didn't fit the aesthetic she was going for. She said she would have asked me to get in shape at the gym and maybe dye my hair blonde if the party weren't so soon, so it was better if I didn't participate. Victor insisted she retract and apologize. She hung up, saying she wouldn't. I told him I'd handle it my way and not to get involved. He nodded. I know he won't. He's too busy with his business to waste time on this nonsense. But this nonsense is my bread and butter, especially now that my honor has been wounded. 2 days before the engagement, my friend and I went to the house. I just couldn't imagine having that woman in my dream house. We called a locksmith and changed the lock. Note, Bry already had a key to the house, another long story. The night before the engagement, Mona texted me that Bry had been back at the hotel with the same guy. I didn't pressure her but asked if she could take a photo and find out the guy's name. Reluctantly, she took a photo of them entering the lobby, clearly hooked on each other. She also checked the system for the reservation and got his name. She couldn't get a video. That would be too risky. I looked him up and found out he was a lawyer at my in-laws' firm. On the day of the engagement, I went to the house and opened it for the event team and decorators. The main event would be in the garden, with dinner and socializing inside afterward. I asked the organizer to start decorating the interior. When they finished, everyone went outside to set up the outdoor decorations. When it was time for the guests to arrive, I discreetly locked the door. If a decorator needed something from inside, they knocked or rang and I opened it. No one suspected what was coming. I lowered all the blinds except one, sat behind a window, peeking through the closed curtain, ready for the show. At 2 p.m., my in-laws arrived, the first to show up. When they saw the house locked, they looked through the open blind and noticed it was already decorated. My father-in-law asked the organizer for the keys, and he said the lady of the house had locked it. They thought he meant Bry since they knew I wasn't attending. I overheard them saying it was probably part of Bry's plan to open the house after the engagement and continue the celebration. They sat outside, overseeing the garden decorations. As time passed, guests arrived and sat outside as the setup suggested. The organizer directed them. Around 4 p.m., Bry arrived with her entourage of bridesmaids. I don't know what culture has bridesmaids for engagements, but she had them. She tried to open the door to drop off some things, used her key, and called the event team to ask why the door was locked. They told her the owner had locked it. She said, "I'm the owner." The guy replied, "No, there was another lady here." Bry realized it was me and called Victor to tell him. He said he was in an office meeting and didn't have time for it. Soon after, her boyfriend arrived with his family and friends, and boy, did he get upset. My in-laws were embarrassed. I felt bad for them, but sorry, I'm not letting their daughter walk all over me out of consideration for them. Bri insisted on holding the engagement outside as planned while trying to sort out the key issue. Her boyfriend was yelling, asking how it was possible for someone else to lock his own house. Wow, I laughed so hard hearing that. Before locking the door, I'd placed a hose in the backyard connected to the indoor faucet. I quickly turned it on and let the water run outside. In minutes, the grass got wet, then flooded. Guests moved to the driveway. Someone suggested breaking the door with a hammer. Bri's boyfriend and some other guys started forcing it. That's when I opened it myself and everyone was shocked. Bri pushed everyone aside, approached me, and literally begged me to stay quiet and let her continue with the event. I said, sorry, I can't help someone who insults and humiliates me. Her boyfriend's parents came in and asked if this was my house. I said yes, and that she wanted to use it, excluding me from the event because, according to her, I'm too ugly to fit in. Everyone around her reacted as any normal person would when hearing something like that. I locked the house from the outside and started to leave. My in-laws approached and asked me to let go of the past and save her from the embarrassment. I sincerely apologized to them, and before walking away, I handed Bri's boyfriend a printed copy of the photo Mona sent me. I said, you might want to investigate while your fiancé visits hotels with your lawyer. The photo said it all. I walked away with elegance. Yes, a mischievous part of me wanted to stay and watch the spectacle, but I'm a classy woman. It goes without saying that the engagement was canceled. From my house's front camera, I saw the boyfriend's parents leave first with disgusted faces. Bri tried to stop her boyfriend, but he brushed her off and left with his friends. My in-laws stayed there, devastated. Bri was crying and yelling at them. Then they got up and left without even acknowledging her. She called Victor, crying, saying I'd ruined her life. He told her she should have thought about the consequences before messing with me. I wish we'd had the sprinkler system installed at that point. It's a planned upgrade for the future. If it had been, I would have turned on the sprinklers and spoken through the security camera, saying, get wet, BTCH. But no, I only spoke through the camera, saying, boohoo. Since then, there's been silence, no social media posts, no calls, nothing. I feel sorry for my in-laws, who, with all due respect, didn't do a great job raising Bri, and now they're suffering for it. Update 2. I have some news and a brief update. Bri's engagement was obviously canceled, that's not the news. But not only that, her boyfriend sued her lawyer for breach of fiduciary duty and complicity in fraud. It came to light that Bri had manipulated him to forge a prenup in exchange for sexual favors. They were also planning a financial fraud together. Her boyfriend actually contacted me and thanked me for saving him. Turns out he wasn't the fool I thought. He fell for her manipulations. She lied to him about everything: her job, owning the house, having little experience, being full of Botox. The only thing that bugs me, besides my stomach from hunger, is how he didn't notice that last one. How do you see that allergic reaction mandrel face and not suspect something? He offered us a vacation package to the Maldives as a thank you for saving him, but I humbly declined, not wanting to get more involved in that mess. Yeah, right, who turns down something like that? Who turns down winning the lottery and having enough money for life to sleep with a smelly lawyer and end your relationship when you hold your engagement party at your sister-in-law's house? Who hates you for many reasons, but especially for calling her fat? I won't go into details, but the answer is no one. Victor and I moved into our new house about 2 weeks later. The decorations meant for the engagement were beautiful, so we used them for our housewarming party and invited everyone except Bri. My in-laws politely declined, saying they didn't feel well. I realized they didn't want to face friends and family after what happened. No matter, the party we threw was amazing. Everyone celebrating to the beat of boom, boom, boom while we waved Bri's engagement photos around. Oh, and it turns out Bri was right about one thing: I was indeed bloating. And you know why? Because I'm pregnant. Thanks for putting up with me. I'll update if there are any new developments. Now, off to enjoy the Maldives, baby. Update 3. We're settling back into normal life. Between parties in the Maldives, I was a bit out of my natural habitat, but that's easily fixed in my case by returning to work and my daily routine. For others, like my sister-in-law, things are a bit tougher. I sometimes joke that she would have been wiser picking Nazi Germany as an enemy because she would have faced fewer attacks than mine. The Botox might have seeped into her brain, and well, she wasn't thinking clearly when she called me fat. My latest prank, you ask? It was a little thing I did. Bri has been living with my in-laws since she ran out of money and still hasn't found another poor sap to pay for her whims. The last one even took her iPhone, so she can't flaunt it anymore. She's staying at my in-laws' house, but in a surprising move, they've assigned her household chores while she lives there. One of those chores, believe it or not, because I didn't, was mowing the lawn. Neither I nor Victor believed it until my father-in-law sent us a photo of her doing it. When I saw it, I said, I can't miss this. I broke a few traffic laws and ran some red lights, but you don't see Bri working every day. It's like they revived a mammoth with genetic engineering and put it on display at the mall. You're not going to miss it. Sure, this animal might be a bit ugly with a mummified Botox face, but a free show is a free show. And there she was, dressed to the nines to mow the lawn, but doing it. I pulled up in front of her and asked, "Working hard, or did the work hit you hard?" She yelled at me to get lost, but I didn't listen and asked what happened to her backup boyfriend, the lawyer. No response. So I kindly informed her there was a patch of grass she missed. It was a lie, but I got her to look anyway. Before leaving, I said, "I think the Botox on the right side is wearing off. I'm starting to see a wrinkle from the sun." She looked at me like, "I don't believe you," but I kept staring until she ran inside to find a mirror. After that, I left because my father-in-law yelled from the porch with a beer in hand, "Don't mess with my employees." I still say messing with the Germans was less trouble. At least the torture ended when the Allies arrived. Bry has no allies. Moral of the story, don't mess with another woman's weight. You might start World War III, but with Botox.